Hello and welcome to another Illustrator tutorial from Iran Creative Co. I'm Christina, and in this tutorial I will show you how to make cute balloon letters. As you can see from this image, these letters have a hand-drawn feel and are perfect for graphics made for children. So open a new document and let's get to work. You can draw the letters if you want, but for this tutorial I'm going to use a typeface. So select the type tool and enter the text you want. I'm going to use Montserrat Bold for this tutorial, and maybe let's make it a little bit bigger. You can find the download link in the video description. So now we are going to change the text to shapes. So click on the selection tool and then go to type and create outlines. So now we have a shape, right click on it and ungroup it. I wanted to show you how to make balloon letters because I will use a few tools that I rarely use, and one of them is the warp tool. You can find it here under the width tool, and the shortcut is Shift+R. So click on it to select it and then double click on it to change the options. I usually use a brush that's about 30 points, but you can change the size while you use it by holding down the Alt key. The most important thing is the detail. I usually use a small detail that's 2 or 3 because I want to have round and smooth letters. You can set the simplify to 50. Feel free to experiment with the values and press OK to save them. Switch to the selection tool and select the first letter, then switch to the warp tool. This is a very fun tool to use, but if you haven't used it before, you might need a little practice. The most important thing to remember is that we are looking for a hand-drawn feel, so it's not important if your letters have small imperfections. So I'm going to zoom in and start with the corner. So just click on it and drag it a little bit to the outside. Then just click and drag and just trace the outline of your letters. So it's important to have round corners and just make the balloon letter a little bit bigger than the typeface. So it's not important if you don't have a perfect letter, because you can just go back and fix it. So if you drag it too much, you can just drag from the outside and it will look alright. So this is sort of what I'm looking for, but as I said, it's not important if you still have areas that don't look that great, because we are going to clean it up later. So just select the next letter and then use the warp tool to distort it. As you can see, the letters are far from perfect, but they do have that hand-drawn feel to them. So select all the letters and then go to Object, Path, Simplify. We want to make them rounder and smoother, so we are going to use the Simplify option. Make sure Preview is checked to see the changes. It's very important to have a high curve precision. I usually use somewhere around 90%. If you move it all the way up to 100%, you will have many anchor points, sometimes even more than the original, and we do not want that. You can play with the angle threshold. Sometimes it works better with a small angle threshold, other times with larger one. You can also compare it to the original version by checking the Show Original option. You can see where it's with red, that's the original version, and the blue outline is the current version. So press OK when you are happy with it. The Simplify option does a really great job, but if you zoom in and look at each letter, you might see areas that are not that great. As you can see, we have here an anchor point that doesn't look great, so I'm going to use the Convert Anchor Point tool that's under the Pen tool to make it just a bit rounder. So you just have to press on the anchor and then move the mouse. You can also move the handles to change the angle. If you see these areas, you can use another tool that's called the Smooth tool. It's under the Sharpen tool. So just make sure that your shape is selected and just draw over it with the Smooth tool. As you can see, this already looks better. Now, I prefer to use the Convert Anchor Point tool and the Delete Anchor Point tool. So I usually delete angles that don't look that nice. And then use the Convert Anchor Point tool to change them. I think it's called Convert Anchor Point in Photoshop, or it used to be called like that. I can see it's only the Anchor Point tool now. The rest of the image is great. Now the next step is to color it. Select each letter and choose a color for it. I have my blog's color palettes loaded in the swatches panel, and I'm going to choose different colors for the letters because they will have a more playful look. Now I'm going to rearrange them a bit, just so that there's more space between them. And then select all of them and group them. You can press Ctrl G or Command G or right them and choose a group from the options. All we have left to do is to add shadows and highlights. So make sure the letters are selected and then copy them by pressing Ctrl C or go to Edit, Copy, and then paste them in the back. The shortcut is Ctrl B, or you can go to Edit, Paste in Back. Make sure that the letters that are in the back are selected. You can go to the Layers panel, and if you see a colored rectangle next to the group, that group is the one that's selected. So just click on it and drag it a little bit down and to the right. And then let's change the opacity. Before I do that, I am going to ungroup the layer that's in the back. Then I will go to Window, Transparency, and enter a lower opacity. I usually use 70 or 80%. I think 70% looks great. The reason why I ungroup the layer before I change the opacity is because if you change the opacity of the group, when you ungroup it, the letters will go back to 100% opacity. Now I am going to also ungroup the letters on the top and then just group each letter, but before that I think I'm going to move them a little bit up. I think I like this better, so let's group each letter. Next we are going to add highlights. You can easily add highlights with the pen tool, so let's change the stroke to white, make it just a little bit bigger and use a rounded cap, and then select the pen tool. You can just create 2 anchor points and then make them a little bit rounder. Now because I'm going for a more hand-drawn look, I will delete this and use the brush tool. The shortcut for the brush tool is B, so you can change the size from the brush. I usually use the 2-point brush and just draw. I am going to draw using a drawing tablet, but you can also draw using a mouse and just add highlights. You can also use the selection tool to move the highlights a bit if you don't like the way they look. Now let's select all of them. So select one of the highlights and then go to Select, Same, and use the stroke color options, and we are going to go back to the transparency panel and just lower the opacity for a bit. So let's see, 80%, maybe 90. This looks great. So now just again group each letter and make sure all the highlights are selected. These are our balloon letters. You can use this technique to illustrate the whole alphabet or just to draw balloon or bubble letters every time you need them. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you want to see more tutorials, please subscribe to my channel or visit my blog. Thanks for watching!